Welcome to Week in Horror.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
The podcast that deep dives all the films you love.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The week they dropped in horror history.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
With your horror hosts, JL.
When a shirtless Sam Elliott with no mustache takes out an alligator with an oar, that's the kind of movie I'm looking for.
Eugene.
And we're just casually just like, yeah, so that's probably the best way to go, light someone on fire with gasoline.
Alex.
It would not be an original lineup if I didn't have fucking technical difficulty.
Johnny O.
Now, it's not in Amityville, or wherever it's Amityville.
And Aaron.
They got manure to work with and nothing grew from it.
News, trailers, trivia, special guests, and more.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Live show every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central at youtube.com/weekinhorror.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
And wherever you listen to podcasts.
One by one, we will take you.
Week in Horror. Stay scared.
You love Gage. You love you some Pet Sematary.
I love Pet Sematary, but if I ever see a little guy, I'm gonna punt him.
You see, like in that movie, just like you said, he's just standing in the hallway and he's like, "Hi, Dad." He's like, "Bam!"
He punted Baxter.
Yeah.
That's how I roll. Credits.
End credits. Movie done. All right, let's do this. Welcome, horror fans. It's Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, and that means it's time for another episode of the Week in Horror podcast, the only podcast that sleeps all night. Wait, what? What? God damn it! I quit.
You fucked it up.
I fucked it up. This is the only podcast that sleeps all day and parties all night. That's right. Thank you, D. Snyder.
Or the Lost Boys. Or the Lost Boys.
Or the Lost Boys. Or
which is where it's from.
Actually, Gene Simmons. You guys are fucked.
No, say the fucking lines.
You say the fucking line. And if you, dear horror fanatic, are listening to us at the top of the week, remember we do this live every Wednesday right here on YouTube. Come hang out. Oh, you forgot? No, I didn't. God damn it. I can't see. I just can't see, man. I'm telling you.
What are these words?
Angela, I'm so sorry. Come hang out and see all the stuff our editor, speaking of, doesn't want you to see. This week we're covering select horror films released March 26th through April 1st. That would be the Fool's Day. That would be me right now. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm Johnny O, also known as The Fool, and with me here tonight are JL and Eugene.
Good evening, everyone.
What's up, everybody?
Light this motherfucker on fire.
Angela's just gonna throw her hands up about that intro. She's
just like, fuck it.
Let
it roll.
I'm out. I'm just gone. Man, I tell you, it has been interesting. I'm more tired than usual, and Johnny knows why.
Yeah,
because most people, and a lot of people are aware of it. People in the live chat are aware of it. As a matter of fact, speaking of the individuals in the live chat, let's go ahead and make sure we get that up. Bam! There's our amazing Patreon banner. All of the amazing individuals who help to make the show possible. We love y'all for it. Y'all are amazing. Thank you so much. Before we dive into anything, let's see who we've got in the live chat tonight. Because I want to say hi to people. I want to see the amazing people. Say hi to them that help support this channel, because we wouldn't be able to do this without every single one of you. So good to see you, Vera Lucia Campos, who was here. Good to see you. And Frayed as well. Good to see you, bud. And he asked a question: what happened to that channel? I got an email. Yeah, I'll touch on it before we get into our other stuff. Doctor Who Design. Good to see you, bud. What's up?
Word choice.
Before we touch on it. What the hell is wrong with you?
What's wrong with me? What's wrong with you? You're trying to
Doctor Who Design. Good to see you, bud. Casey Cooper says, good evening. Good to see you. Casey. Daryl M says, won't be able to make it, so thumbs up now. Thank you so much, Daryl. We'll catch you
We'll catch you on the replay. Thank you, sir. Raven Darkstar's here. Good to see you, Raven. Says, hey, hi, hello, all. Good to see you. Let's see. Dr. Nimrod is here. Says, hello, everybody. Good to see you, Dr. Nimrod. Thanks so much for hanging out, bud. Travis Brown, our big supporter there, says, good evening, horror nerds and freaks. Good to see you, Travis. Thanks so much for being here, bud. And I see as well, there he is, Gabba Gabba to you, wrote it, no last name, says, most of The Birds was filmed in Monterey with a few scenes in Davenport, with one mention of my last town, Santa Cruz. Davenport is just north of Santa Cruz. Between Santa Cruz and Monterey are Watsonville and Salinas, where Killer Clowns from Outer Space was filmed. You are correct, wrote it, no last name. You are the king.
That's not the trivia question, so.
It's not the trivia question, but
sorry.
Well done, wrote it, no last name. Good to see you, bud. Sarcasm's here as well. Says, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or lady and gentlemen. We'll let y'all figure out which one of us is the lady on here. Good to see you, Sarcasm, Nemo813.
Oh, fucked it up.
Yeah, you fucked it up again.
That guy over there.
So, Nemo813, good to see you, bud. Good evening. Yes, Casey Cooper, absolutely. Gosh, if Heckfire is here. Good to see you. Says, alrighty, bitches, let's get this party started. Yes, we are doing that. Genova28 says, good evening, everyone. Good to see you, Genova. Cindy Johnson as well says, I've actually seen one of the movies. First time ever. Fantastic,
I
Cindy.
bet you I know which one it is, Cindy Johnson.
Child Eater.
Exactly.
No, it's definitely Progeny. That's
Progeny.
the one. That's the Oscar winner she happened to watch on its massive theatrical run. That's gonna get me some trouble.
It didn't even get a full playing in the theaters as its theatrical run. They played 20 minutes of it like, fuck this shit.
Angel Rivera, good to see you. Says, good evening, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. Casey Cooper says, my parents took me to the drive-in to see The Birds in our Studebaker. That may age me a bit. I was way too young.
Cooper, how are you able to get around without a walker?
in the old Studebaker. Bully, we're going to the drive-in to see a flicker show.
Yeah, you said three things there, actually. Three things that told me that you're old as fuck. Okay.
Oh, no, it wasn't a flicker show. It was a talkie. It was a talkie back then.
The first one was parents took me to the drive-in, which is part of number 2, and then Studebaker. Fuck.
I remember summer evenings piling into the Studebaker with the family and going to see the talkies. I don't know why he's British or something, but
why not? Might as well be.
It might as well be. He says, I was way too young, and the scene with the eyes picked out left me hiding in the back seat. I get that. Hiding in the back seat of the Studebaker. Absolutely.
Studebaker. That's a big backseat tied in too. You get lost that motherfucker.
Josh Beckfire says, I watched The Birds back in film class in college. That was a long time ago. It isn't
not as long as Casey Cooper.
Not as long as it wasn't in a Studebaker at the drive-in.
I'm just teasing, Casey. I'm glad you're here and not.
Let's see. Joshua Lee is here. Good to see you, Joshua Lee. And Abby Paulin as well. Good to see you, Abby. Thanks so much for hanging out. There's Fred. Good to see you, bud. And I see Facty's here. Good to see you, Facty. Thanks so much for being here. Jay Vers as well. You did make it. Thank you. Charlie Wells said, JL, the fastest channel get backer in the business. And yeah, apparently I was. Quick. It was pretty fast.
YouTube said, "Ooh, we fucked up."
Oops. Brian Powell, good to see you there, bud. Good to see you. Gosh, yeah, that was take 2. Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we need additional takes when we kick the show off, because it's looking like, oh, where are we? We just got done with the production meeting. We were like talking about a script and everything, and then we had to come in here, and so we were kind of in one mood. And then, of course, Johnny is old and infirm and can't see the fucking screen. he's got like the percentage like up to 200%, so he can see everything. It's like those phones you get, for the it's like boop, boop, boop. Yeah. So it's on the wall, so he can hit it with his cane and be like blab blab. Blab.
Yeah,
it's so large.
The numbers are so big. I gotta get my car to hit 911.
Where's my Metamucil? Oh,
I'm noticing a common theme for this episode.
Oh yeah, B
We're
Blanco
old shaming the fuck out of people.
Good to see you, B Blanco. Says hello, everyone. I've been dying to come to your live. Pleasure to have you, B Blanco. Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight. Awesome to have new listeners. Welsh News Network is here. Good to see you, Welsh News Network. Thanks so much for being here.
Get better.
Gosh Beckfire says we're off to a smashing start. Thank you so much, Gosh.
We were. Fucking, I came in like a drunken Godzilla on
you came in like fucking Clyde was driving the fucking Cadillac. Oh, name that reference, people. Oh, let's see. Sarcasm's here says, "Yep, jail get the turd polisher 9000 warmed up for the first one." Not necessarily. Okay,
Yeah,
but we'll get there. I promise we'll get there. Donnie does that's here. Good to see you, Donnie. Thanks so much for being here, bud. And Javier Hara is here. Good to see you. Thanks so much for hanging out. And Sorsha Red here is here.
Yeah.
Good to see you, Sorsha.
Catching your first time.
And Robert Biter as well. Good to see you, Robert. Vera Lucia Campos says, "Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share." And thank you for the obligatory ghost. I appreciate that. And look at it. Raven Mordick. Raven Mordick is in the house.
Yeah.
Good
I like
to see you,
better.
bud.
I like this one better.
And which one?
This one.
Rampage.
That should be a movie. That's got to be a sci-fi movie.
Oh yes, Charlie Welch is here. Good to see you, bud. The only I fucked it up. I always try to do it quick. Charlie Welch, the only man on the internet you never make a bet with. Good to see you, bud. Good to see you, Welchy. Shiz is here. Good to see you, Shiz. Says congrats getting the channel back, jail. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I think Tina Jones is here. Good to see you, Tina. Cindy Sue as well. Thanks so much for being here. And Elizabeth Sylvester's here. Good to see you, Elizabeth. Thanks so much for hanging out. I think I got everybody. Yes, excellent.
It's awesome seeing some new. It's awesome seeing some new names.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for joining us on the stream. And like, we really appreciate it. And I hope you enjoy the couple of movies we're about to talk about.
Absolutely. So first and foremost, yes, I am a little bit more tired than I anticipated because normally I try to be well rested coming into the show, and I'm tired like my co-hosts are tired. Well, I quit that shit, man. So
yeah,
we stopped that on Monday, so we're good.
I'm good. I'm 48 hours sober, man. Come on. So no, seriously, but I woke up yesterday. I was tired. I was writing all day and I was running around and I was just handling stuff around the house. And I took a nap and I woke up at like 11:30 p.m. So it's one of those naps that goes a little too long, but not long enough. And it was like, so I went to sleep. I wake up a couple hours later, like 11:30, and I get this email that my personal YouTube channel has been terminated. Gone.
Yeah, just deleted.
2.5 years of work.
Like just nuked completely.
Just nuked. Yep. Just like straight aliens, that fucker. Just straight took Hicks's advice and just was done with it. I say we nuked the side from orbit. Yeah, so I got nuked from orbit and I was like, oh crap, what's going on? So I contacted my people, I peeled the whole thing, and it was about 5 p.m. It was around 5 p.m. a couple hours ago that I got my channel back. And so it took them a minute to figure it out. Apparently I think I got mass reported for something. I got brigaded is what happens. A bunch of people came and were mad about some of the commentary I made and decided we're going to report you. Oh, we're mad. Well, when they do that, you're on the right track. So they got mad at me and they knocked me down. So I wasn't too pissed, but I was worried. It was like, I hope I get it back. And less than 24 hours later, I'm back up, and you see all these amazing individuals here in the chat saying hi. Thank you all so much for all the support everybody gave. Everything is back to normal. So like I said, when they come after you like that, you're on the right track. You're doing the right thing. So it's been amazing. All the support that came out when people looked me up, was like, where the hell did his channel go? Yeah. He's gone. even Irish contacted me. Irish contacted me. It was like, dude, what happened? And I was like,
are you good, man?
Are you okay? Well, see, initially, because I made that one video where I was drinking a Guinness out of a bottle. And it was like I drank a Guinness out of the bottle, and it was like a short little quick one saying, like Happy St. Patrick's Day. And I drank it out of a bottle, and I thought like Ireland had turned against me and had taken me off for just like crimes against the state. And I was like, what if Irish turned me in? And he reported me to like fucking Guinness. It's like, no.
Country of Ireland.
He's contacting afterwards. He's like, are you good? Are you good? That's what you get.
Get, motherfucker. How dare you drink?
I want to see that shit in a pint glass from now on. So.
You better drink everything out of a pint glass.
Fuck yeah. So, yes, Craven Mordex says, Guinness out of a bottle, you monster.
That's exactly what I said. That's exactly
Maybe
what
that
I
was
said.
the misinformation they hit before. I was
think
given the
so.
information that this is a correct thing to do. Apparently, it's
This
not.
is a good idea.
This is a good idea. Nope.
And the thing is,
Scam.
it has to be a certain type of pint glass too. It's not just your standard pint glass. It has to be the pint glass that comes up and has like the bulb at the top.
It could be a 16-ounce pint glass.
I've never.
I'm telling you right now, if you drink it out of a regular pint, does it bother me? No.
I
But
used to
our
work in
Irish
an Irish bar.
followers?
I used to work in an Irish bar, like a legitimate Irish bar.
Aren't technically all bars Irish?
Well, pubs. All pubs are supposed to be Irish.
I mean, it's a bar, so technically there's Irish people there. So, Sorcerer Red here says, it's after midnight here, but I've been listening to the complete first 2 seasons, and I've recently started on 3, but I have a short vacation now, so I can listen to one live. Fantastic, Sorcerer.
Yes.
And we'd love to hear what you think of like the early stuff. Like if you have commentary there, if you have like this, like how have we improved, or has the show demonstrably gone downhill since we began? We're very, very curious as to what you think. So it's entirely possible. I'll leave it up in the air. It's like, has the show gotten better? Have we gotten better in our production value, or has the show just demonstrably gone downhill as we've gotten?
Look, y'all ran out of good movies.
This flight is taking forever to crash.
Had good movies?
We've had a couple of good movies. So, let me see. I thought I missed somebody. So, oh no. Let's see. Someone new popped in. There he is. Dickbag Patrol is here. What's up, scary people? Good to see you, Dickbag. Thanks so much for being here. There's Aaron Reese holding down the chat. Says the secret is to drink it so fast that you don't notice the difference in flavor. That's also the secret to married sex. Excellent point there. Excellent point, Aaron. Very appreciate that advice. I will keep that in mind. Frade says most pubs in Australia are dusty and have a strange guy called Mick sitting in the back corner who wants to take you camping.
Pass.
Yeah, hard pass.
Hard
on that
pass.
one.
Hard pass. All right. So yeah, but all is good with me. Yeah, everything is fantastic. Good to see you, Joshua Lee. If I didn't say hi, Joshua Lee. I said no. There he is. Okay, I said hi to Aaron. Good. Oh, Gosh, Becker says the early stuff was way better. Ouch.
Before I joined, I think that's what he's trying to say. Johnny guy. He's so terrible.
There's this point in season 2 where we kind of realized we needed to expand the cast a little bit, and man, did we expand the cast.
You want to know something funny about what JL just said? Bam! That's what's funny. Ha ha, motherfucker.
Yes, you're very cute. Oh man. So before we dive into things, a couple of things we wanted to chat about. Obviously, there's the big news that kind of hit. It was really, really a bit of a bummer, but a really brilliant actor, really amazing talent left recently. We lost him. It was unexpected. It was kind of out of the blue, but we wanted to pay some respects, and that was to tremendous actor Lance Reddick, who recently passed away. Unfortunately, like I said, it always pains us when we have to move someone to the in memoriam in the horror database. But Lance was an amazing actor. At only 60 years old.
Yeah,
such a bummer. But I remember, I first came across him in Fringe, is where I first saw his acting, and I thought he was magnificent in that. And then, amazingly, the second thing I saw him in was that Toys R Us, the Toys R Us video he did for Funny or Die, and he was fucking amazing. Yeah. He showed a true grasp of both drama in Fringe, drama and action, and of course comedy. The dude was funny as fuck.
Yeah,
and then
I first saw him in Oz. That was my introduction way back when. I think it was in season 3. But yeah, he was fantastic in that.
And it's not a commentary, but I think Eugene first saw him in The Wire.
Yes, yeah. First of all, The Wire is a fantastic show, but definitely The Wire, and then obviously I have to do a shout out to him in John Wick.
Yes. Caron, the concierge.
Yeah. That he made the hotel, like, even because in the first John Wick, he just goes there to kind of like this mysterious thing. They never kind of dive into it, but you can already tell from his performance there's this huge lore behind this hotel, and you just want to dive in and know more about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was a shame. He's a super, super talented actor, and I'm really glad. While not a lot of people dug it and it didn't get a lot of great reviews, he did play Wesker in the new Resident Evil franchise that came out on Netflix. Only lasted for a season, fortunately, but his performance in that was great. I really enjoyed what he brought to that. And it wasn't like his performance or anybody else's that drove the thing down. I think it was the editing and it was the pacing that Netflix just made the wrong decision on that. He would have made a fantastic Wesker if it had been like a motion picture, like a new movie. But unfortunately, Netflix didn't take it that way. But nonetheless, his performance was great. I loved because he played like 4 different versions of Wesker in that film. And you could see his talent across all the variations of the characters. He was immensely talented and greatly loved. Keanu Reeves had nothing but glowing things. And, pretty much most of the people on John Wick commented that he was like the heart of that franchise, to them. It's like, I can imagine it because the dude was just amazing. So.
Yes, he was.
Lori Marie, good to see you. Says I loved him in Fringe. He was in Fringe. Some of his best work was when he was working across from John Noble, because John Noble was phenomenal in that show. And the two characters are like polar opposites. They're so dichotomy. There's such a dichotomy between the two of them. They're so fundamentally oppositional that when the two of them are forced to interact by their characters coming into it, the way they react to each other is fantastic. And always made for great television. So, for such a fantastic actor, we said goodbye to him too soon. But he left us a tremendous filmography that we can remember him by. All of the fantastic work from Oz to The Wire to Fringe to his work in the John Wick franchise and a number of other things. He was all over the place. So, yeah, God, he was so good. So, and the second thing is because we here at Week in Horror really, really love the Boondock Saints. Despite, Troy Duffy.
Second one.
Despite Troy Duffy, but we love the Boondock Saints, and I'm a huge Sean Patrick Flannery fan. I'm a huge Norman Reedus fan. I loved everybody, David De La Rocca, and of course Billy Connolly. Everybody in that movie, and Willem Dafoe, of course, everybody was great. But I always follow their careers, and of course Norman Reedus is kicking ass over in The Walking Dead, has been for a long time with the occasional movie here and there. But Sean Patrick Flannery, you don't hear a lot out of him. You don't hear like where is Sean Patrick Flannery now? Because it seems like he did Boondock Saints 2. Then there was a few kind of indie films after that, but then you just don't really hear about him anymore. He has a new horror film out, and it is called Nefarious, and we're going to watch the trailer.
Ooh, I have not seen this. So
here is the trailer for Nefarious.
Hello? You should have accepted my offer, James.
Execution scheduled for 11 p.m. But he's trying to convince us he's gone insane.
And therefore incapable of being executed.
I need you to prove he's faking it.
Edward? I'm gonna ask you some questions.
I'm not Edward. I'm a demon.
Demons aren't really a thing. What happened to Edward?
We own him.
We?
He's a master manipulator. You have your head so twisted around you think you're the killer, not him.
And give me something to make me believe you. Prove to me you're a demon.
It's probably just a coincidence.
I want to talk to
The real
Edward.
Makes me do that. I can't stop him.
I need you to see something. You got a fan. Did the same thing with all his victims.
Help me!
I'm trying to, Edward, but you have to answer my questions. You have to tell me the truth.
It won't let me!
It can go away. It can go away. Yes?
No. It's starting to happen. Can you feel it, James? Can you feel it? I think it's time we tell you exactly what it is that we'd like you to do.
All right. What do y'all think?
I think that's what I'm going to use to help me fall asleep at night. That was boring. What the fuck?
Such a hateful person, man.
No,
He's
it's not
like
that I'm
no
hateful,
imagination whatsoever.
I'm going to have no imagination whatsoever. It's a trailer that's supposed to make me want to see the film. And I watched that thinking, I want to gouge my eyes out right now. Fuck this.
Oh.
It's boring as fuck.
It felt flat. I kept waiting for, and see, maybe it's a poorly cut trailer because trailers are supposed to ramp up to a moment, and it never ramped up to anywhere.
Never quite ramps up.
Yeah. It never is like I want to see what happens in that scene or what happens in that shot. It just never kind of went there.
I felt like a bit. I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. It's quite possible it's not a well cut trailer. Like maybe they didn't want to give too much stuff away. I was kind of intrigued by the cinematography choices that were very similar to Law Abiding Citizen, because they utilized that exchange between the two characters like very, very similarly. So I'm curious as where they're going to go with it, and I have a sneaking suspicion that he's not actually possessed. I have a sneaking suspicion that this is all a big ruse, but they could turn around and surprise you. It's like, hey, he actually is, but it already could be a cult. A number of individuals.
To Fallen.
That would be cool. That would be very interesting, like a Fallen prequel. So that would be cool. But I'm very curious. It's Sean Patrick Flannery. I'm a big fan of his, so I hope it's really, really good. He's understated talent, and I hope I wish he got more work than he does. But yeah, it's good to see him working and still kicking it out. Let's see. Christo Kieran is here. Good to see you, Christo. Thanks so much for being here. Says, hey, JL, Johnny, Eugene, and everyone. Thanks so much for being here, bud. Oh, Aaron Reese says, I was afraid JL was going to say, where is he now? Well, he's actually dead. No, he's not. He's not. He's not dead. Bobby Williams is here. Says, good to see you. Says, wow, that's on my birthday, April 14th. We know where you're going to be. Fantastic. Good to see you. And let me see. Lori Marie says, I'm interested. I'm curious as well. My curiosity is piqued. So,
this is the whole thing. This is the whole thing about the trailer and just the premise as a whole, because if it's fake, it instantly makes me think of, what was it, Primal Fear with Edward Norton?
Yes.
Like right off the bat, I'm like, oh, okay, well that's kind of already been done. And then if it's real, then it's like I kind of want to see it ahead of time, because it's just not drawing me in enough of just wondering if it's real or not.
Gotcha. Okay, I gotcha. Let's see.
Really, again, it was flat. It just didn't say, hey, watch me, motherfucker. You have to watch me.
Let's see. What was it? I missed. Oh, yes. Sir Gab says, I agree with Johnny. Video Valium. That's kind of a bummer. Abby Paulin says, I'd rather see the Pope's Exorcist. That also looks good. Of course, it's also Russell Crowe, who can give a commanding performance when he wants to. Even his movie, what was it? Unhinged? No, fuck. God damn, why can't I? The Road Rage movie.
One?
Yeah.
I can't think of it right now.
Yeah, he played the dude. He played the crazy, fundamentalist religious guy who develops road rage when a lady cuts him off, and then he terrorizes her down to up to a final confrontation thing.
I don't remember this one.
I can't remember. It's something, anyway, but he was actually quite good in that. He was pretty intimidating in that. Unhinged, yeah. But he was quite intimidating in that one. Aaron Ray says maybe they chose not to leave the entire movie in the trailer like most studios do now.
Well, but here's the thing: it's not about. Yeah, and I think that's stupid too. I hate when I go watch a trailer. It's like, oh, can we go spend money to go to the fucking theater to watch this movie? Like, I saw all this shit in the fucking trailer, and I don't mean like I saw all. Obviously, you're gonna see things in the trailer unless you're Twister, then you don't see the tire.
Right.
But when they put all the good shit in the trailer, like, come on. You got to give me some good stuff.
I will tell you if you textbook best trailers, if you watch Christopher Nolan trailers.
Yep.
They set you the premise. If you look at trailers for Dunkirk, look at trailers for like The Dark Knight Rises, trailers for Inception, all of those trailers they grab your attention. They can kind of set up a premise, but you don't know where it's going.
Right.
And Rodnell Sam says, or it was a well-cut trailer and the film was even worse, possible. And then JL said, Joshua Lee says, JL engaging the Polisher on an unreleased movie. So I don't know how bad it's going to be. I really don't. So Aaron says, it's not my fault. JL has declared himself unofficial herald of the movie industry reaper. Oh, I apparently am the herald of Galactus. So the bearded surfer. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It should be interesting. Hopefully it's interesting, possible, but we shall see. There was another one, very kind of similar in the same, not in a prison, but I got vibes of The Cleansing Hour. And The Cleansing Hour is intriguing because that's about a fake exorcist who does it for like clicks and views, but then winds up actually, getting his girlfriend possessed by, or getting his friend's girlfriend possessed by like the Satan. And so like Lucifer himself like comes in. So it's kind of like tested like that. So everything he does is fake and he knows it's fake. So all of a sudden he's in the middle of an exorcism and it's not fake. So that was a fantastically done movie. I got kind of vibes from that. So we'll see how it plays out. But hopefully, I'm curious. So I'll probably check it out.
I hope it's a good movie. I really do. Because again, Flannery's he's a terrific actor. But it's just like the trailer did not make me want to watch the movie. So, all right, let's do this. What do we got? We got some movies. Don't we have some movies? What are we doing?
We have a
what are we
couple
doing
movies
here? Eugene, let's kick this pig with the second worst movie on this list.
All right. So first, we'll start off with the movie Nightlight, which was released March 27th, 2015. Roll it.
That beautiful bean footage.
I will, good sir.
Let's do this thing. Here we go.
What happens if you don't get to your flashlight in time?
I don't know. That's never happened before.
Yeah, let's go, Nia.
No.
How much further are we going?
You can see dead bodies just lying at the bottom of the crest. We blindfold you.
Heights always get me.
I think this is stupid.
And then you try and find us.
Ben? Grace?
If you die in Covington, your spirit becomes a part of the woods. Everything here is haunted.
What if I can't find you?
Just scream Nightlight.
Scared me. Nightlight. Nightlight! People go out here all the time, and they don't come back. Did you really know the boy who died here?
It's them! Run to the church!
Why can't we just get into the moving car?
Robin? I'm so sorry, Ethan. Where are we?
Help us!
Don't hurt me.
But I want to hurt you.
All right, that is Nightlight, directed by Scott Beck and Brian Woods, and it stars Shelby Young, Chloe Bridges, Mitch Hewer, Taylor Murphy, and Carter Jenkins. And basically, you have a group of friends, despite a recent suicide, go out in the woods and accidentally awaken a demon. This is the thing about this movie. When it comes to found footage movies in the woods, I still think Blair Witch takes the cake.
Yes.
Like everything, like it's the type of genre where it's hard to touch.
You should not do found footage, everybody. Don't do it. Don't. Don't. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say about this movie. Don't do found footage films.
Well, Sarcasm says that this was a well-cut trailer. The downside is it's the most interesting moments in the movie in one shot. So there were the more compelling shots that were in the film, were utilized in this, predominantly in the trailer. And Dickbag Patrol does give them points for using a real wolf, but you're going to have to subtract those points for using a CGI snake. So because the snake, the camera was CGI, so you're going to have to deduct points for that. Travis Brown says, "Yawn, another found footage film." But the one thing I'll say about Craven Mordix is I see that girl went to the Prometheus school of running away from things.
Yes.
And she absolutely did. Raven Darkness says Blair Witch with blinky lights.
So the two movies that I immediately thought of were Blair Witch and that Hayden Christensen one.
The disappearance on 7th Street.
Right. Yeah.
So the one thing that got me about this was absolutely, yes, it is a found footage film, but it does not have two things that I think it does have going for it. Is one, it doesn't have the typical, like as much of the typical shaky cam stuff. So it's very stabilized for a found footage film. So that wasn't so distracting because at times I often forgot that it wasn't found footage and that it felt like it was being shot kind of like hardcore Henry, where it was almost like watching a shooter. Where it's very stabilized. You do have like the first person perspective, but it was well stabilized. And two, they did a lot of interesting things, very interesting technical things in this film. The usage of the sound of like the old fashioned bulbs, like going out and coming back on. That was interesting technique. The use of light and shadow throughout. Filming outside in the woods is always really, really difficult, especially at night, and trying to make it look effectively like night. So I thought they did that extremely well. So there was a lot of very smart technical things that were done in this film, but on the converse, the writing is not great. The storyline is pretty bare bones and hackneyed and very formulaic, and the acting could have been a little bit better, but because it's always a shame when you see.
It could also have been a lot worse. I will say.
It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, we've definitely seen worse.
And I was bummed because it's always a shame when you see such really, really solid technical prowess go to waste in a film that is going to be dragged down by the plot and what's happening in the way the actors are working in the scene. It's always just kind of a bummer like that because I was like, man, they had so many cool things to work with on this. The camera that they utilized, the lighting technique, the lighting setup, they planned it very, very well from the visual perspective, like what they were going to show. And even like if you watch the film, there are little nuanced things that are going on in the background that you may miss. So I was surprised by that. Like little things you almost like out of the corner of your eye. You like there's one scene when the girl is like when the friend is like passed out, she's up against the tree, and the other girl has her camera and she's sitting there talking, and the other girl's passed out and she has her back to her. So there's action going on behind there, like her eyes slowly open, then all of a sudden you realize her eyes open, their eyes closed, then you can see something or someone moving in the background amongst the trees. But the way it's angled, it's very hard to see what it is. So there were smart things like that throughout the entire movie. Smart choices, really well planned. But
okay, so the problem with found footage movies, and the reason why Blair Witch worked so well, is because it came out in the late 90s. The internet wasn't as prolific as it is nowadays. B, it was a marketing that really sold Blair Witch. Not everybody, but the vast majority of people thought it was actually true. Like this is a real. Somebody found this footage, like it was real found footage from this lost expedition that, these three kids go out to the woods and they turn up missing. And there was no real way to like debunk that until after it was released. And then they're like, oh no, this is just total bullshit. Here are the actors, whatever. That's the only reason why Blair Witch worked. Had somebody come out and said, hey, look at this shaky cam movie, they're like, why am I watching somebody's shitty fucking home video bullshit?
And because the thing is you're right. With Blair Witch came out in 99, and the internet was still new, and marketing campaigns still worked. And though Blair Witch wasn't the first found footage film ever, it's a first one that a lot of people have heard of.
Yeah.
And it's the first one that started getting really mainstream release. So it was new at the time.
Yeah.
And the thing is like right now, found footage is no longer new. And like the only thing found footage offers now is you're able to get certain shots that can be very impressive. If you watch movies like Hardcore Henry or Afflicted, that they have some impressive camera moves that's like, how do you get the camera to fall off 4 stories and land on the street perfectly? Like that's stuff that's cool that I look for in found footage. But just, hey, we just happen to be here and just have this camera going the entire time.
I really got the sense that the filmmakers behind this, or at least the DP or the cinematographer, took a lot of influence from video games. Because, like I said, it felt very much like I was watching a shooter from that perspective, and the way the camera moved and the utilization when the hands come into the foreground. I got that sense, but also the use of flashlights. It was very, very similar to any shooter game, any like horror shooter game that you have, where you have a flashlight that only illuminates a certain area of the field of view. And then they utilize that in order to play with the shadows, allow things to move in the background that you only catch a little bit of, or to set something up as far as like big jump scare stuff. So like the flashlight will come up and then there's something there. So it felt very much like there was inspiration from video games there, which I think is what made it a little bit different than most of the found footage that we end up watching, or that most people end up taking part, or checking out. So I found it to be intriguing. It was enough to at least keep me hooked and watching. It was like, oh, this is interesting. Unfortunately, as far as like the 3-act structure goes, it's very formulaic as far as its script goes, and it ends pretty much how you'd expect. No one's getting out of this alive. And it was like, oh, yep, everybody's dead, because that's what people have come to expect. I wish it had gone in a different direction. It had the chance, but it's like, I guess that's the thing about taking risks. You have to be willing to take a risk with your storyline. Yes, you can go formulaic. Yes, you can be what everybody expects, but you're not bringing anything new to it, and you're not giving anybody a reason to say, hey, go and watch this movie. You won't expect what happens, because that's what it is. You'll dig this one. Visually, it's an interesting piece, but everything else just drops the ball and kind of drags it down, which is a damn shame, because I really wanted to like it. It was visually well done, but.
And the thing is story, people will overlook bad like cinematography for a good story. I saw this one short film once, and the cinematography is terrible. It was just bad. But the story was, some guys went and they broke into this house, and they go wake up the family, and then the husband gets shot and killed, and they run off. Well, he goes up to heaven, and is like, you can do a redo. So he went out and did a redo, and every time he kept getting shot and killed. They just something a different way. They kept trying to figure out a way to survive, and finally he got it. And he figured out how to take out the bad guys, but in the course of taking out the bad guys, his wife gets killed. And that's how it ends, because he was the only one that's able to go back. And it was like the pacing of it was like, oh, he finally got what he wanted to survive, but at the cost of his wife. And it was like this really, like the pacing of it was really interesting, and they had some good performances. The cinematography is terrible, but I remember, because I saw this film maybe like 7 years ago, but I remember it because of the story. So you can bypass certain things if your story's solid enough.
Yeah, the audience will forgive you. That they'll be able to look past it. And unfortunately, this one, while it does some really cool stuff as far as and somebody said, what was it? Somebody in the live chat said that it didn't really feel like Sir Cab said, this really wasn't found footage, though. It was more from a flashlight perspective than any of the available cell phones, right? Because they're playing Nightlight, which utilizes It's a nice way to utilize the game as a means to justify what they're shooting. Although they never really explain why everybody's out there with GoPro, or why everybody's out there with cameras filming everything. But they do. So they bring cameras out there and they utilize the flashlights in order to be like, and there wasn't an over reliance in like night vision, which I really appreciated, because too many movies do that when they're shooting in the dark. They'll try to rely on night vision so much, and that also tanks it for me. The reliance, willing to stick to their technical choices was smart and not go the safe route, which is what made this ultimately even more disappointing, because whoever's behind them made those choices in planning. This is how you plan for a film. The problem is the casting director didn't really, the casting director dropped the ball, and the writing could have been a little bit tighter, with maybe something a little bit new at the end. Maybe it doesn't necessarily need a twist, just delivered to, in a way that not everybody else has done. And instead they make safe choices, expected choices, which is always a shame.
And it's funny you bring up how they're like, because you're right, and a lot of times at night they go, oh, we'll rely on night vision. And you'll be surprised on how many cameras don't have night vision. That's not like a common camera thing. Are there cameras out there that have night vision? Yeah, absolutely. But it's not like, what, does people's cell phones have night vision? Most camcorders don't. So it's just funny whenever they switch over to it.
Aaron Reed says maybe we'll get to see the auto-stabilized footage subgenre at some point. So yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. So yeah, it's it was a bummer, but it made me think. It made me think extensively about like what separates good found footage from bad footage. Found footage. Now, this man right here, this man notoriously hates found footage. He cannot stand it, and it is the extremely rare one that he'll even be like, meh, it wasn't bad. And it's like Blair Witch, Grave Encounters, and even then he's got heavy criticism that he can levy towards them. But there is in my opinion, and I think you can agree with me, Eugene, I think a lot of the live chat will agree with me as well, and people who listen later, that there is a line of demarcation between, there is something that denotes what makes a good found footage film and what makes bad, why the vast majority of found footage is bad. And typically, we can go in the horror tropes and be like, well, typically, it's the writing, it's the acting, it's, the direction. It's like nobody's making smart sound choices. But there are things that make them good. And I think obviously big, smart technical choices do something unique because you're literally taking the audience's face from a cinematography standpoint. You're taking the audience's face and sticking it right there in the middle of the action, like it's happening to them. So it's got to look like we perceive reality. It can't be like making us sick with motion sickness, like Blair Witch or typically other found footage with motion sickness. But when you're putting their face up in there, they've got to be able to experience it, because they have to be able to see what you want them to see, and that's smart. So, what do you think? Divide draws the line between those two.
Honestly, I think the issue with found footage films for me is that they just don't work. They're not believable at all. Why? So what was it? Paranormal Activity at least had a reason why it was found footage, right?
The security cameras in the house.
Security cameras, right? So at least they thought, this actually makes sense because this family is experiencing something, so they're trying to catch on. I just thought it was boring as fuck, because who wants to watch security cam footage for fucking 2 hours? But very few found footage movies. It just seems lazy to me. It seems like a lazy way to film without having some sort of thought process, like real thought process behind it. I think it just became so vastly popular so quickly with well, there you go. Like Blair Witch, like really fucking, it took off and people were like, holy shit, there was a movie that was shot for 10 grand or 60 grand or whatever, ended up making millions. Let's see if we can't catch Flash in a Pan again. And then it saw that, people will watch the found footage films. They'll watch them, at least. We don't have to spend a whole lot of money on them. So it just became a really lazy way to make a movie, or a really cheap way to make a movie. And I don't like it. I don't like the fact, because there's no cinematography there. There's no choices when it comes to, well, we should have the lighting hit this way, and nobody cares. Like, no, just it's so stupid. I hate it.
The thing is, and you bring up a really good point, is justifying the found footage. Blair Witch Project works because of the marketing of, we found this tape, so these are these like last moments. Paranormal Activity being like kind of like surveillance footage around the house. It's like, and on top of that, Paranormal Activity is made to feel like it's real. This is a real thing that's happening, versus like, we're just traveling along through this country, just traveling in the woods. Yeah, exactly. And then Donnie does that. So he said almost all digital cameras have some kind of low light mode, if night vision. A lot of cameras do have a low light mode, but I'm talking the actual military style night vision that's like green.
Yeah. So I will say I think that I agree with all of that. I tend to do, and I also agree with someone said like the shaky cam in there. When the over reliance upon the shaky cam to try and increase the amount of tension that you're viewing on the screen, because with the shaky cam comes the fact that they're afraid. The camera is shaking because they're scared, which translates to the audience being scared. But I agree that oftentimes if it's overused, just like jump scares become overused and we get used to them, they're not scary anymore. The shaky cam just reminds you that you're watching a film. Thank you, Jay Verse. I do agree with that one. I think it comes down to the technical choices that they're making, and of course, knowing where to draw the line, because you've got handheld found footage, then you've got security cam like CCTV found footage, and then the balance between utilizing those and utilizing actual like shots, like actual like what you've actually set up to shoot, like an actual setup shot. And a movie that I remember that did it extremely well was a movie called Evidence. And Evidence was about was basically told in retrospect. So it's a group of it's these two detectives who are investigating a massacre that took place on a bus. And so everybody in the bus is dead. There were a couple of survivors, and so they're trying to figure out what happened and who the bad guy was. So it's two detectives investigating a slasher film. And so everything is set up like, where they're processing the evidence, all that, the crime scene, that's all prepared shots. But the footage they're reviewing is all found footage. So it constantly moves backward in a very, very fine balance as the officers are trying to get more information there, and they're using that along with the interrogations. Everything else is staged, but everything in the found footage, that's all the evidence they're looking for. So it would jump from the evidence to the actual investigation and go back and forth. And I thought that was really, really smart. So it comes down to a balance. Like, you don't overuse things. But with found footage, I find that balance is very tenuous. That depending upon other elements in the film, it's very easy to use too much or to rely too heavily on a particular trope. And so I think this one, whereas I think Nightlight was enough to kind of get past that. Unfortunately, it was the acting. It was the acting and the writing that dragged it for me. It was like, oh, why did they say it like that? They could have said it like this. They could have shown this. They could have done this. I kept thinking of the ways that it could have been better without spending too much money. But yeah, there's a way to do it right and a way not to do it. Grave Encounters is a fantastic way because it's a combination of CCTV and found footage. So it's a nice balance. So we get the set, the steady shot, and then the I'm walking around movement. So there are ways to do it, but that's why I think they're few and far between. That's why the good ones are a handful, and there's so many bad ones out there.
Yeah, another one. Speaking of the Poughkeepsie tapes.
The Poughkeepsie tapes, yeah.
Yeah, it's another example. And that way it's like it's the FBI going through this footage that they found of this serial killer, and doing the found footage style makes some of those scenes more haunting because it's the killer recording him torturing his victims and messing around with them. And so in a format like that, it works really well. So it's like we said, you have to justify the found footage. You can't just have found footage for the sake of found footage.
Yeah, and then that's the reason why I don't particularly care for found footage, because again, it's easy. Oh, it's so easy. We'll just make a found footage. We can do it. Make found footage. Make a found footage. Like, fuck off. Actually playing your movie.
Another smart one was VHS. I really dug VHS, and while unfortunately it's kind of, there's some diminishing returns on VHS as far as the anthology. The anthology works for it, but something that was really smartly done in the original VHS, the very first one, was that each one of them were found footage. There was found footage in every single one of the stories they told. Like when they were watching the tapes, when the investigators are watching the tapes, it's a different found footage little short film, right? But the style that was utilized to shoot those films, every single one is different. There you have because you have one particular director behind it in the framing narrative, and then each one of the short stories had their own director. So the approach to how the camera is used as far as found footage was different, which gave it a different feel for every single game, made them feel unique. So it seemed like we were seeing a new film every time because it wasn't the same style repeated over and over and over again, where we expect the same thing. So it kind of kept you on your toes. But that worked in short form. And we've talked before about how anthology films have a lot. That sometimes anthology films don't have a lot of the hurdles to jump over that feature films do, because there's accomplishing a lot in a little is quite easy, because you're not having to worry about exposition and drawing things out and timing things. You can pack it all right there in 10, 15 minutes and you're ready to go. And then you move on to the next. So I think that was a smart way to go about that, what made VHS so popular.
Right. Here's just like an aside. Every time you say VHS, I think of UHF with that fucking Weird Al Yankovic.
Where he throws the puppies out the window. We're going to teach dogs how to fly today.
Yeah.
So fucked up. Raven Morning said, just like Twilight Zone, the movie. Exactly. Yeah, very, very good. You want to see something really scary? Dan Aykroyd. No, Dan Aykroyd, I don't want to see anything scary.
No, never.
And of course, Angel Riviera talked about the Cannibal Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The original found footage, which already has a very interesting story. Actually, a lot of interesting stories behind that production and how that came about. So there's also a lot of animal stuff that happens in that film too. Yeah. So
I'm just waiting for you to finish this piece of shit.
Yep. So I want to ask the audience, and we kind of digress. So I'm actually going to stray a little bit away from the original CTA because we seem to really stay on this the found footage. So what I want to know is what is your favorite found footage horror film?
None of them.
So let us know in the comments below, or send us an email at weekinhorror@gmail.com. Johnny's answer is none.
None. Not a goddamn one of them.
Not a single one.
Zero. Source Raider says Sinister, where found footage was used in the movie, had me on my toes throughout the movie. That was another excellent use of found footage because it was the little snippets, the little short bits that enabled the progression of the plot and to really set the stage. It was almost like I always kind of imagine with Sinister, it was very similar to watching the video when the character's watching the video in The Ring. So you have this, everything is set and everything is staged as you would a normal film, but then you have these cutaways where we're going to watch what the character's watching, and it is either found footage or it's something creepily done, and then you go,
works,
whoa,
right?
and then you come back. Then you come back to reality. So it simulates it a lot better. Yeah.
That works in Sinister, right? When Ethan Hawke is watching these kids do kill their parents and whatnot. That works because he finds the 33 or 35 millimeter tape or the 8 millimeter, whatever it is. He finds that shit and he watches it and he's experiencing it through the eyes of the people who did these things. So that works. There's an explanation behind it, and the whole movie isn't lazily done.
And that's the thing, and not to mention the found footage clips in Sinister are so well done.
Yes,
that you get that kind of voyeuristic feel, and then usually on a lot of them, it becomes horrific so fast, like the lawnmower kill, or they get tossed into the pool, or the car gets on fire. And it's just like, whoa! It's just a sudden hit, and then it takes you right back out of it.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, and Sarcasm said, like, apparently he's expressing this. Nightlight is not a found footage movie. Arg! I'm looking at it. Nightlight is a 2015 American found footage supernatural thriller film. It was a horror film is what it was. So it's found footage. It's found footage.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's talk about the best movie on this list.
Yes,
we'll definitely talk about the best.
We started here. We're going way up here, and then after this movie, it just fucking nosedive. It goes down so fast that it goes down and backwards. You know what I mean? Fuck.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So the next film we're going to talk about tonight, I've been excited about talking about this one. Came out March 28th, 1963, and it is Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. Let's take a look at this trailer. I love old Hitchcock trailers. This is good stuff.
Tweet, motherfucker.
Tweet, motherfucker. Caw, bitch.
How do you do? My name is Alfred Hitchcock, and I would like to tell you about our good friends, the birds.
That's the damnedest thing I ever saw.
Birds just don't go around attacking people without no reason.
Yes, they attack the children. Attack them. What's the matter with all the birds?
Birds are not aggressive creatures, miss. They bring beauty into the world.
Those gulls attack.
Impossible.
They came in right down the chimney.
Why are they doing things?
It's the end of the world.
Are the birds gonna eat us, Mommy?
Get yourselves guns and wipe them off the face of the earth.
That would hardly be possible.
Mitch, don't!
The 5 continents of the world contain more than 100 billion birds.
All at once, the birds were everywhere. Why don't you all go home? Lock your doors and windows. Did you get the windows in the attic? When do you think they'll come? What happens when you run out of wood?
I don't know.
You don't know? When will you know? When we're all dead! They're coming!
so bad. They use his own quote. They use Alfred Hitchcock's own quote about his own movie. Those fucking graphics, though, man. Look at that. Those fucking horror, evil intent.
Well, it starts off like a PBS special.
It does.
It does. It absolutely does. Yes, but that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of like seriously, that's the beauty of Alfred Hitchcock. But anyway, The Birds, obviously directed by Alfred Hitchcock, screenplay by Evan Hunter, based on The Birds by Daphne du Maurier, and then it's starring Rod Taylor, Jessica Tandy, Suzanne Plachette, and the legendary Tippi Hedren. Obviously, The Birds is basically an interesting story. It's about a couple that meet in a chance encounter at a pet store, and then kind of like begin to being attracted to each other, kind of like fall into their paths kind of collide. And as they're going along in the kind of like romance story at the very beginning, all of a sudden, all the birds in the area just go fucking insane and start attacking and killing everyone in sight.
All but two of the birds. The two birds.
The two birds they bought in the pet store.
Lovebirds, yeah.
The two lovebirds, yes. So, and obviously, in a culturally significant film, one of the best in Hitchcock's filmography, up there with Psycho and of course, like Vertigo and Rear Window. But this is one of the most amazing films that I think he put out there, especially for the time period, given the effects and the risks they were willing to take. So much smart stuff in this, and just well done and fucking freaky at the time. But the beautiful thing about it, just like the trailer, Hitchcockian ambiguity, the ability for him to set the stage for one story and then quickly change into another story.
Something completely different.
Something completely different, right? Yeah.
You see it in all of his horror films. Like every single one you see it, right? So you see it in Psycho, because Psycho starts out as like a heist type Ocean's 11 shit, whatnot. Then it goes like fucking south real fast. And then in Bird,
that escalated
quickly. Bird starts out, it's this is like idyllic place. They're set in Bodega Bay, which is a very beautiful landscape, which I think there's something behind using Bodega Bay specifically to juxtapose to like this horrific thing, because it is a very beautiful.
It's been used a number of times. It's the picturesque seaside idyllic community, and then the horror that lies underneath that. So
right. So you have that, and you those two things that are juxtaposed to each other. And you also have the scene where the lady in the store is like talking directly to the camera. And this is very much Hitchcock's way of saying, you're fucking with nature, you need to chill the fuck out. But the way he's able to tell these stories, where he starts this movie out where you think it's like this going to be, not you think, but you watch this movie and it starts out like this kind of campy-ish romantic comedy type thing. And then again, shit fucking turns south real fast.
Yeah, I mean that is.
No, I'm not. Wrote no last name.
What do you say? So Johnny was saying "Dust Till Dawn" is Hitchcockian. It started out as a crime thing that turned into vampires. That was like Robert Rodriguez. I think that was Robert Rodriguez pulling a Hitchcock.
Yeah,
is he was going to go one direction and then it's going to wind up somewhere completely different. And it's right, because even Rear Window did the exact same thing. Yep. Because it starts out like telling the story about the guy, he's stuck at home and he broke his leg and he can't leave, and then all of a sudden there's a killer over there, and then it turns into this cat and mouse kind of thing, which is brilliant stuff. I love the way he set it up, and of course this one does the exact same thing. Where if you watch like the entire the first act is literally just like this love story about this guy who meets this girl at chance encounter, and they're kind of like, hey, I like the way you look. I like the way you look. Let's kind of like pal around for a bit. Fuck birds in Act 2, and that's it. That's just what it is. So,
which is it's funny because Birdemic follows that same formula, because in the first 45 minutes there's no birds.
Somebody kick Eugene off of here because he
So Paracord Princess is here. Good to see you. Paracord Princess says, what always disappointed me about The Birds was the lack of music. During the most violent attacks, there was no mood music to heighten the mood.
So that was a classic Hitchcock technique.
Yes.
He absolutely implored that. He wanted it to feel uneasy. So the lack of music there was to make you more tense. Because, and you see it with Kubrick used to do the same shit. No music to influence how you're supposed to feel. He wanted He wanted you to feel what you were feeling in that moment, and that quietness with the birds attacking, and even muting some of the contextual sounds, like the Tippi Hedren where she gasps but you don't hear it, and the footsteps that you don't hear, and all you hear are just the birds. That
especially
was
go the attic scene, the attic sequence.
Yeah,
right,
was
exactly.
Amazingly done, because it's the little things that are like the muffled sound,
right?
You know, something behind the door. It's like, what is that? What is that?
Exactly,
noise?
exactly.
It's birds.
Yes, right. And so the idea was, we want you. This is what you want. I want you to hear. I want you to hear specifically the bird noises, because I want you to feel like you're in that moment where you are surrounded by birds, and the only thing you can hear is this flock of birds. So it was a very well thought out. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a mistake. It was a very well thought out device in order to get the audience. It adds that little bit of tension.
Something that's interesting and that I'd forgotten about when I went back and rewatched this, was that the film was actually inspired by real events. So because the novel,
there was like two seagulls that were fighting over a fucking shrimp.
No, it wasn't. So there was the event that took place in Capitola, the seaside town of Capitola in California, back in 1961. And so the Capitola residents woke one morning to a scene that you could describe out of a horror film. It's like hordes of seabirds were dive bombing their homes, crashing into cars, and vomiting all over everything. Everything was just absolutely fucking insane. And Hitchcock heard about that event and used it as research material for The Birds, which was then already in progress.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, oh, wow. So something like this has happened. And then he brought that in to really tie it in. No one, and apparently it was the behavior of the birds in the real life event was attributed to toxic algae. But apparently they, of course, in the movie, they never attributed to a specific cause. And they're left very similar to like what Stephen King did, where I think King took inspiration from The Birds with his ending of the original Mist. Whereas in this one, at the end of The Birds, they drive off in the car very, very slowly, and the birds are just kind of chilling, look at us funny. It's suddenly eerily quiet, Whereas in the same thing with The Mist, they drive off into the mist and they're going to try and make for somewhere distant. And that's where it leaves off. It's like this ambiguous, it's like, is this going on all over the world? We don't know. And so, but that kind of creepy that this is something like this can happen. And I like that. And this is weird because it's the same thing with Psycho. It's kind of like Psycho was being written while fucking
Ed
Gein was doing his stuff.
Yep.
But he didn't find out about it until he was like, oh shit, okay, I got to incorporate that into my real stuff. So life informing art. But Hitchcock knew where to take it, and of course, using that inspiration. The sequence is obviously the phone booth sequence, one of the most intense.
Yeah, one of the most iconic moments.
One of the most iconic moments, and of course, running from the schoolyard as well, the big, huge, wide shot. And of course, then you got like the attic sequence, which is arguably one of the most tense ones, and then the sparrows coming in through the chimney as well.
Yes, Tippi got flocked up. Most definitely.
She did get flocked up. She absolutely got flocked up.
Tippi Hedren, after Tippi Hedren said, no, Hitchcock, I do not want your bird.
But my dear, the bird is the word. It absolutely is. Something intriguing that when I came across this that I found really, really interesting is that because for all of its technical capacity, all of its technical prowess, and all of the layered shots that are in this to achieve the birds going it was brilliantly done as far as technical goes. Whereas you look at something like Psycho was very easy from a technical perspective. It was the camera angles that made it intriguing, but it was shot in black and white, so it was easy to pull certain things off without having to spend too much money. This one, very technically complicated film as far as layering the birds in and of course utilizing real wildlife in order to get because I think the birds they used were like literally they went down to the shore and they captured them. It was like they captured wild animals so they could use them in the film, and so
which would not be done today. By the way,
no, it would not. It would not be done today. But I found this interesting because I think this is technically a nature horror film or an eco film because no explanation is given for the bird's behavior. I honestly can't find a film prior to 1963, because when you get into the 50s, you're getting into like the perils of nuclear war, but then you're getting into mutated monsters like, giant tarantulas, giant mantises, and shit like that. Or giant ants. You get that stuff. You get like the nuclear monster things. But as far as just nature in and of itself turning against man, I can't find an earlier inspiration for this because everything else entails nuclear stuff. This just entails nature in and of itself and how man's power and supremacy pales in the face of the true force that is nature. And so
I was doing a little bit of research, and it really depends on how you view eco horror because you have the nuclear with like Godzilla and them and so forth. But then if you think of movies like The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, and if you look at the original King Kong, because
those are monster flicks, right?
I mean, they're
But did King Kong get there because of radioactivity or because of some weird?
Well, King Kong was a giant monkey on the island, but that doesn't happen in nature though. Just like the giant Gila monster, that was because of mutations and stuff.
But the thing with King Kong is, so this is before the nuclear monster. So King Kong he's just there. That he obviously will classify as a monster feature, but there doesn't really explain like where he came from. He is an actual part of nature.
Yeah.
He's
like
just
they went to an
anomaly.
island. They went to an island. There's a giant fucking gorilla on it.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So it's interesting because I was looking at this because after this movie, we because we're getting in the 60s and going into the 70s, we're getting closer and closer to the formation of Earth Day, and so we're getting a lot more movies coming out where people because we're now aware of it as a kind of like as a society that we do have a direct effect on nature, and that effect can be extremely detrimental, often even horrifying for us. And so we start to get a growing trend of these nature films. Well, it's not nuclear monsters. It's just like nature turning against us for an unspecified reason or an indeterminate reason. So similar to like it would be about 10 years after, maybe 11 years after we would get the movie Frogs, which I lovingly mention in the trailer every time until we get a new trailer going on. But just the idea that nature just turning against the balance, like the tables have turned. Right. Man is no longer superior because this is what nature's doing. And I think that the idea of that Hitchcock may have planted that seed because this was long before you had eco, warriors going out there and the world establishing, like Earth Day, when we need to really focus on efforts in recycling and our consumption and of course deforestation, because we're going to leave ourselves without nature. Nature will turn against us in that respect. And I thought that I couldn't find one similar to this that went back. It always went back to like giant monsters, us playing with genetics, playing with nuclear power, shit like that.
And also, if you really look at the time period, because these start really popping up in the 70s, because you mentioned Frogs and Night of the Lepus and even something like Jaws, where in the 70s was big into this disaster kick. So a lot of the eco horror plays right into the disaster flick. You're getting the same audience as going back for, because instead of having, say, a building on fire, well, now you just have giant bunny rabbits that are attacking people. It kind of hits the same kind of cliche.
What are you doing? Damn it, Jim, I've got a freaking bunny rabbit in my lap.
I'm telling you, the best use of that movie was the Natural Born Killers, because the Natural Born Killers, Oliver Stone utilizing clips from that movie made that movie scary. It was like, because that's what's going on in Mickey's mind. It's like the only way to make Night of the Lepus terrifying was think of a serial killer watching Night of the Lepus. It's like, rabbits up my brain. So, but yeah, I got, it was intriguing. I think that The Birds is an early, if not one of the first like real eco horror influencers there, where the movie came in and people began to see as like, wow, filmmakers begin to see, wow, yeah, nature turning against us, and then finding different ways that nature can turn against us, which I think Frogs is a version of that. Because then you have movies like Piranha as well, and Roger Corman's Piranha, and that was about genetic engineering again. It's like we genetically engineer these fish, and then the fish get loose in the wild, or get loose out in the world, and they start eating people, and then they eat Funky Brewster. So, well, that's what happened. So, I was like, not Salil, no. So, Travis Brown said they tried so hard to make bats scary, like 1999 Bats films. And I just say, unfortunately, Lou Diamond Phillips. I love Lou Diamond. He's a great dude, great actor. But yeah,
that was a bad
movie. That was terrible. Yeah, that was terrible. So, but I do want to ask the audience, because Hitchcock films are some of the most beloved, and I can't really think of a bad one. But he did a number of horror films. What, in your mind, is